Hey everyone, Corey from Aquarium Co-op. Today we're talking nano aquariums. Now, that's a broad term. There's nano fish, there's nano aquariums. I consider nano aquariums to be about 10 gallons and under, and nano fish to be like an inch and 3/4 and under. So some of those things, like maybe neon tetra might hit inch and 3/4, 2 inches. I don't really consider them to be nano, but whereas another fish, like maybe an ember tetra at an inch and a half full grown, is nano. So it's kind of a weird thing there. But lots of options. That's the important part, is there is a lot of options. And, a lot of people start with a nano aquarium. And so, that's the most sensitive point to be at. You've got a small aquarium, you don't know what you're doing. Balance can be a lot harder. People also wonder if they can get plants. They wonder, what they can do. So yes, you can do a planted tank. It's actually a little bit easier in a nano tank because nano tanks tend to be really short. There are nano tanks that are really tall, but I recommend kind of a landscape view on that tank as opposed to a tall one. And when it's shorter, the light that you do have, even if it's a real crummy one that comes with the kit, will put a lot more par down onto the plants themselves. So, so planets usually fairly easy in a nano aquarium compared to a larger aquarium, a lot less investment. And then when it comes to fish, you're usually running into a problem where you want schools of fish because small fish tend to find safety in numbers, but you want multiple things and your tank might not be able to house it. So things like there's rasboras, the Brigitei rasbora, also known as the chili rasbora. There's the Pygmy rasbora. There's the strawberry rasbora. There's all these little nano rasboras, and they do well in groups of 6 or more. But if you only had a 5-gallon aquarium, you might want like a group of 5 to 8 of those, and not so much an extra group, if you will. 6 strawberries, 6 chilies might be a bit much, and only 5 gallons. The other thing to consider when you're feeding like a nano aquarium is that these nano fish you've got in the mid-water, they want to eat very small pieces of food, and they usually are very timid, so they want to eat mid-water. And so you drop in that food, and whatever makes it by them, typically they're not going to go down and pick at it. So sometimes pairing it with a bottom dweller that is a nano as well. So maybe Pygmy Corridoras. There's about 3 species of Corridoras that are in that small category, which would be Pygmaeus, Habrosus, and Hastatus. But then, let's say you had a 10-gallon or something like that, Panda Corridoras might make a lot of sense as well. I'm trying to think of what other good nanos, possibly Coolie Loaches or Rosy Loaches are good bottom dweller options. Obviously, shrimp, whether it's a mono shrimp, cherry shrimp, even a crystal shrimp tank. Sometimes you dedicate your whole nano aquarium just to shrimp. So, you want to make sure there's something down there. One of my absolute favorites is snails. They usually come in free on plants. They clean up everything. They get into those crevices for you, and they really help out your little ecosystem. And when it comes to feeding those small fish, something like my fry food or Hikari micro pellets, some other things. I really like frozen foods a lot. So frozen cyclops and frozen baby brine shrimp, when they thaw out, they tend to keep going around in the water column so that those mid-level swimmers can keep eating. Also, live baby brine or Daphnia, those would be amazing options, but that's not an option for everyone, especially like if you're in a dorm room or something like that where nano aquariums are really popular. Now, some other kind of quick hits on the nano fish list might be celestial pearl Danios. Very popular, kind of a timid fish. Also wants to eat mid-water. Keep them in a group of 6 or more. They don't have to be heated, which is nice. If you're comfortable in that room, they'll be comfortable, so that's really nice. Another popular nano fish might be, or a nano aquarium fish. The fish itself isn't nano, but if you had a nano aquarium and you wanted a popular fish, it might be a Betta. Betta is a real popular. They can sometimes mix in with other stuff depending on the size of the tank, more towards the 10-gallon versus the 3-gallon, let's say. But sometimes African dwarf frogs, sometimes Corridoras, sometimes a schooling fish in there. It depends on the personality of your Betta. and then realize that they usually have different feeding requirements, so that the Betta wants big meaty stuff like worms, and your small nanofish maybe not so much. And so that could be a problem. Let's see, what else can I cover on the nano side of it? A lot of times in your nano aquarium, when you do have live plants, because there's so few fish, they might be kind of starving. And so fertilizers work really well. We have Easy Green Nano. You could use a normal Easy Green and kind of try and half dose or so. There's other fertilizers on there, but in general, usually you'll have to rely on a fertilizer to get plants to do well in a nano tank, unless you're intentionally overstocking and then balancing that water accordingly. A lot of times people ask, like, can I do guppies in a nano tank? You know, I get that question a lot, like, how many guppies in a 5-gallon tank? Me personally, I don't like anything less than 10 when it comes to the guppies, but you could do like a trio, but once they start populating in there, it's going to become a problem long term. I like Endler live bearer a lot better when it comes to live bearers in that 5-gallon tank, or if you can do without all that crazy good color from Endlers or guppies, things like Heteranda formosa, which, you know, the males only get about 3/4 of an inch and the females an inch to an inch and a quarter. They're a native to United States. You can get them in Florida. And they're a really cool live bearer. They have fry all the time, but they're not super colorful. There is a gold form, which is fun. But you got to hop onto like Aquabit or something like that to find them. There's also like Tiger Teddies, the Widow live bearer. These are all like nano live bearers that can be really fun in small aquariums, but you can't usually walk into a pet shop and get them. I've got some of the dwarf live bearers. You've seen them in my fish room, but none in the store. They tend to get glossed over by most people coming into a store because they don't have a lot of color. And so, you know, people usually aren't looking for the brown ditch fish. They're looking for bright popping colors. So special request only when we bring them in. But I think now, who's got some questions about nanofish? And then Jimmy, what are you thinking you're going to stock in your, you've got a little, so the thumbnail of this was actually a picture of Jimmy's tank on his desk. What are you thinking you're going to stock in there?
Well, this tank is actually a part of another video that we're releasing. So what I can stock in there is limited because where do we have to get it? Can we tell them where we got it?
Sure, yeah. You can give them a
so
preview.
we're doing a video about what to spend on $100 at PetSmart. It's PetSmart, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we went to PetSmart.
So
yeah.
I spent about $60 on that setup that you see in the. Everyone's mentioning my plaid shirt.
It's a requirement. You have to wear stripes or plaid when you're on
the.
No, I'm kidding.
So far, so I have about $40 to buy fish, but there's not a lot of nano fish I could put in there. But if I could, probably do like pea puffers or something. But I don't think PetSmart has pea puffers, so it's gonna probably be a Betta, most likely. They don't have a lot of nano fish over there.
That's a good point. Yeah. Most chain stores don't stock that many nano fish. I'm trying to think what they do stock that fits into a nano aquarium, being 10 gallons or less.
They have ghost shrimp and stuff. So
yeah, they don't really live that well in fresh water. I'm trying to think. So Bettas, my plan, I want to go with white clouds. So that's my plan. I want to try and breed white clouds in this 5-gallon nano tank we're working with. Trying to think what else. So white clouds are not a nano fish, but they are really hardy and typically can do well in small quarters, and they don't have to be heated, which is nice. I'm trying to think what else at a chain store you could legitimately walk in and buy for a nano aquarium that makes a whole lot of sense, as opposed to making do with what you got. Like guppies are making do with what you got, but I'm really struggling.
I've seen a couple of Petco's have emerald dwarf rasboras.
Okay.
And
yeah, they technically can order those and celestial pearl Danios, but a lot of Petco's don't because they're already having problems keeping stuff alive. You have to have a Petco that already does really well at fish. Then they can special order that stuff in. If they're not keeping fish alive well, Petco limits what they can order in.
Mm-hmm. So Dorothy said her plan is secret, so she's a part of this competition as well. So
yeah, so the video itself will be, we all had $100 budget. We all got, so we all end up choosing the same tank, but we could have chosen anything from PetSmart.
Yeah.
and maybe we'll do a little poll or something at the end to like who likes what scape the best, and everything has to come from PetSmart. And so that's what made it challenging, because otherwise I'd be like, oh, I'm going to order this from my website, I'm going to order that, I'm going to do this. And so the goal is that everyone could walk into a PetSmart and build something kind of fun with only $100. And I say only, $100 is a lot of money, but doing it, I think it was a lot harder than we thought with $100. We thought it was going to be easy.
It was pretty rough.
But where it really came down to is the heater. Yep. So the heater itself was like $20 or $30, yep, even for nano tanks. And so it really limited your options if you were going to do it correctly. And so I actually fudged the budget a little bit. My wife, Dorcula, or Katie, is putting her aquarium in the house. And so I wouldn't want to limit her budget crazy small with the use of a heater. So that's kind of an added expense. So it's really like $120 really. And then here in the studio, we're so warm anyway because we heat the building, we don't have to buy one. So really it's about a $120 budget. But I think it'll be a fun series to see what we can pull off. And it was difficult. You don't think about it until you're going to buy it and you're like,
we were there for like an hour and a half, man.
Yeah, we were there for a long time. They were definitely given the, can we help you, sir?
Yeah.
Like, well,
what are these people doing? Why are they recording?
And why are they buying? We ended up buying the same tank, and we're recording video, and it was kind of weird. But yeah, I think that it'll be fun. I hope. That's the hope. I don't know yet. I haven't built my tank. We bought them days before we left town, and so it's been a struggle to get it done. So, Pygmy Sunfish is a cool water small fish. Yes. The problem with that is a lot of them do have to have live foods only, and so that can be a hindrance to a lot of people keeping a nano tank. Because my logic is the reason I would keep a nano tank is because I don't have a lot of space, and so if I don't have a lot of space, typically I don't have room for, oh, there's my Daphnia pond, oh, there's my place I'm doing this and this and this, which could just be you love lots of small tanks, and that's fine too. But I'm basing it on a different thing. So another great group of fish for nano tanks would be Killifish. But typically you're only going to get one species of Killifish in there. Some of the really cool nano ones would be clown killies, and I'm trying to think of what else. So those are annulatus, but the lamp-eye Killifish. And then there's other things like gold australes, orange australes, I can't think. Chocolates. I keep saying australes. Gardenerize. There's all these different like pairs of killies that get about 3 inches or so, but the pair themselves can live in as small as 5 gallons. Now, a lot of killifish keepers might even keep them as small as a gallon, but they're set up to do lots of water changes and live foods, and it's a different type of fish keeping than what most people are used to. So I usually recommend at least 5 gallons when it comes to a lot of those killifish. So, 521 people watching, only 128 likes. Yeah, I'm guessing there's less people watching because football starts tonight, or so I'm told.
Oh, yeah.
At least in our area, football is starting. So, what's my take on glowfish? I think they look pretty cool. I don't like that they're controlled on how you can sell them when you breed them and things like that. I wish they were doing some different species. So like the skirt tetras and stuff, they're a very hardy fish. That's why they choose all their fish. Is the hardy fish they like to, they think beginners will do well with, right? But the skirt tetra, when it's not kept in groups, typically is kind of boisterous and will chase some things down. And so, I'm torn on that front. The fish they choose, I don't like. I'm not necessarily 100% against the glowfish. I do think they look cool. They do bring new people into the hobby. But instead of a skirt tetra that's kind of aggressive, what if we went with, I'm trying to think of another bigger tetra that might not be as aggressive, or another super colorful fish. Like, why not do it to maybe instead of a sunset honey gourami, why not make that thing bright pink or something like that? They're a lot more docile, same body shape. And they could live as one as opposed to having to live in a group of like 6 or more, because glowfish tend to be on the upper money scale. The latest one I saw they were doing, which was the rainbow shark, I think it's going to look super cool being those colors, but it's going to encourage a lot more people to buy a shark for that 10-gallon aquarium, and it's not suitable for that. So, it's a catch-22, I guess. We'll bring new people in, but maybe they're not choosing the right fish. That being said, I'm not in charge of that company, and if you made me write a list, it might be more difficult than I'm thinking, but I think I could come up with some better candidates than what's currently being produced. Like, for instance, instead of maybe the zebra Danio, which can be kind of boisterous, why not make it like a white cloud? And maybe there's a genetic thing that says that could never be done. I don't know, but they are doing it to quite a few different fish now, including angelfish and that type of stuff in different countries. So I don't know all the specifics when it comes to the glowfish. $5 super chat from Tazawa Tanks, watching from the green chair. Afterwards, I'm going to Ocean Aquarium to look for nanofish. So Ocean Aquarium, you guys probably saw that video. They do have a lot of nanofish there. The store is almost set up to be like a nanofish paradise. And then if you haven't seen on Jimmy's channel already, we did a tour of Tazawa Tanks, which he had mostly African cichlids and stuff, but it looks like he's wanting to play with some more nanos.
I bet he's going to get those clown
The clown killies? The clown killies were a showstopper in that store for sure. So good filter options for a nano tank. Now, a lot of nano tanks right out of the package come with, nowadays, all the rage is the all-in-one. So they've got like a false back to it, and they put a little pump back there. The water overflows in, gets filtered, pumps back out. Now, a lot of those little pumps are actually too powerful, and so you want to turn them all the way down if you can a lot of times, and then make sure the slits on the one that you're buying is not too big so all your nanofish end up in there. That's kind of a pain. I myself like tiny sponge filters. Those are great. Or the nano hang-on back filters. We have them on our website. Azu makes one. Phoenix makes one. There's probably a couple other companies that I can't think of off the top of my head, but they're like a hang-on back filter that's like this big, and you can. I only like the ones you can adjust the flow. Some of them are just on or off. I like them so you can adjust the flow to the type of fish. Like if a Betta wants a much slower flow than maybe a zebra Danio, for instance. So I like those quite a bit. Get an intake sponge on there, and then I usually recommend modifying the media that's in there. So they come with little cartridges or something like that. I like to either fill up all with sponge or bio rings or anything like that, so we can really make sure we have enough filtration or biological capacity. But reality, what I'm using a filter for in a nano aquarium would be, let's move some water around and then hopefully rely on plants to do the actual filtering. So
we missed the super chat. It's by Kim Solstice Aurelius. It says $2 for the team. So,
$2 for the team. So yes, if you haven't been watching us on the other channel, which we did a live stream Friday night, I think, all the super chat money is going into a fund that we will be using to buy a very expensive camera, and the camera that we're looking at currently is about $8,000, and it will allow us to do some things we couldn't already do, and that just means higher quality footage. We might be able to get it before then, but we're funneling all that money towards that because we think that's the next big investment that the aquarium co-op could do. And not everyone will be able to utilize it, but it will future-proof content, so in 5 years you're not looking back at this going, oh my god, it's unwatchable. And it will allow us to do a few things. It should have better low-light technology so that in a store like Ocean Aquarium, where the lighting is very awkward from tank to tank, the camera should be able to handle it a lot better. And nuances like that, you won't come into a video and just go, oh man, I can see why this is so much better, but overall, you'll be not going, oh, I wish this wasn't as dark or something like that. So typically you notice when things are bad. You won't really notice when things get a little bit better, but you will go, geez, that was just not very good. And so the other super chat we missed at the very beginning was LG3 Nation. He likes the super chats before we even get started, which I appreciate for that, with the $15 super chat, by the way. Big one.
Thank you.
And that will be going towards the camera as well. We appreciate your continued support, LG3 Nation, because you pretty much super chat about every single time we live stream. So my Nightbot is going crazy. I'm going to stop it. It says use code Live 100 to save 11%. That was from last week. But we do have promos going on this week. That would be 20% off all of our bulk rock packages. So what is that, you ask? Ceru Stone and a Dragon Oku Stone. If you use the code Murphy Rocks, kind of a play on words there, Murphy Rocks, you save 20%. What you see is what you get packages where my employees have to go and pick them and take pictures and do all that. Those are currently not on sale because we can't even keep them in stock at the moment. They keep running through so fast. And then we also had our freeze-dried brine shrimp is 10% off. And then I put a few Nano products on sale. And then I realized we were sold out of a couple Nano products, so I reordered them. But like Easy Green Nano, I didn't know we were out of it. We sold a bunch in the last week. But like those Nano hang-on back filters and some of those things are on sale. They're just straight up discounted, no promo code needed. So you can use that Murphy Rocks promo code, get yourself some rocks, get yourself some other things, and make it happen.
We had a question. The guy keeps on asking. How do you stop evaporation on nano tanks?
So the easiest way is to put a lid on it. Basically, as air passes over water, if the air is drier, it picks up some of that moisture. And if we can limit how that's happening, we will limit evaporation. Now, if your tank doesn't come with a lid, the cheapest, easiest one that you could do, maybe not best looking, would be saran wrap. You saran wrap that top, boom, no more. So that's kind of nice. But you could have some glass cut. There are little plastic holders, I guess, clips, if you will, that you can buy on Amazon and eBay, but they're by millimeter of glass. So you go get your glass cut, know what size you're going to use, buy those clips, and then it will sit on the inside rim. This is all assuming you have a square or rectangle. If there's curved corners, it gets a little bit harder, but even if you can cover half or 3/4 of that, it will cut down on it. So if you cover half, roughly it'll evaporate half as fast. The other thing is maybe don't set it right by a window and don't have a fan blowing by it. Both those would cut down as well. So we've got some super chats though, I think. What do we got, Jimmy?
All right, we got $5 from Kyle's Wild World, excellent channel, and he says, "Here's to 6K quality."
Yes. The camera we're buying, I don't think it quite does 8K yet.
Well, I think it does 7K, but it shrinks down to 4K or something. It's something ridiculous.
Yeah, so we are trying to future-proof ourselves a bit, because as TVs get better and the way people are consuming content better and mobile devices are getting better, we want to be able to, you really could see how good I look if you can see every pore on my face, But mostly what it'll do, like a big expensive camera, even if we were to be using it in this scenario, is you won't get as much blur when I do this. It would be able to track that a lot better and, things like that. Which you're going, well, I don't need to see your hand wave that fast. But you would really want to see fish moving really quickly without blurring. So that's the technology we really want to invest in so that we can get, wow, look at that fish. It looks so great. Instead of us going, well, let's go refilm it. And that's the thing you guys don't see a lot of times. We have to go back and refilm things going, this footage is literally just unusable the way the fish moved and the way the light's hitting it. We have to go and set it back up. And so if we can save a lot of time that way, that will allow us to just make more content. As you guys have seen with Jimmy being here, we kind of moved to that where there's almost a Aquarium Co-op video, whether it's on my channel or his channel, coming out every single day. Today, we brought out a video that's been long asked for. We shot it in the last week or so on CO2. So that plant series we've been doing, CO2, and so yeah. But the DIY Pond guy with the $10 Canadian Super Chat, good stuff, guys. Thank you so much. We will put that to that camera, and hopefully it will make a big impact. So another one from My Name is Pez. I have a long fin bristlenose and some cherry shrimp in a 35-gallon long breeder planted tank. What would a good nano school to put in there with some color and movement into the tank? Love you guys. By the way, what do you got, Jimmy? What fish, knowing he's got long fin bristlenose and shrimp in a long tank, if you were picking a fish, what are you picking?
My favorite fish, celestial pearl Danios.
Okay.
Always. It's my go-to fish.
I don't think they're super colorful, though.
Mine were.
So, yes, if you get down on their level and you squint at them,
Yeah.
But if we're going super color across the room, I was gonna say Ember Tetras, but you've already kind of
Yeah.
got red in there, so I want to
You need
avoid
something
that.
green, like the green neon raspberry, maybe.
So green neon tetras, yeah, the nano, that's a nano fish. Green neon tetras would be a great one because you're gonna get that look, and if you get the lighting right, they really look green. And it's not a green that's gonna blend in with your plants. It's gonna look like a laser green on there. That would be a really good one. There's probably, and my other one that I would use, I love gold white clouds. Not quite super nano, but pretty darn nice. And I think we had a super chat fall off, and I want to get to that before I forget.
It's Justin Mason 100 for $5 euros or pounds. You have taught me literally everything I know about fish. Thank you so much.
Hey, well, thank you, Justin. We'll put that money to good use. And let's see here. I do know I was trying to get through all the super chats so that I could go back to a question I saw. And someone had asked, why don't I use CO2 injection in all my aquariums? So I use them in very few. It's mostly the plant sales tanks. Every once in a while, I will do them in a planted tank that I'm actually keeping. But if you watch the wife's tank, which is kind of going to get a whole redo at this point, once we turned CO2 on, it became a farm that would grow so fast that it was unmanageable. I had to trim, this much plants every week, and that's not fun. And so CO2 generally makes things easier to grow, but also grow faster. And so it might be like, well, why wouldn't you want your lawn to grow a foot every week? Because then I got to mow it every week and it's a foot of grass. I would much rather my lawn look super green and grow like a quarter of an inch so that I only mowed it like once a month. And a lot of people assume that to get that green grass or that good look, you have to have CO2, and that's not the case at all. You can have a very good-looking planted aquarium with no CO2 injection. Case in point, Ocean Aquarium, let's say there's 100 tanks in there, 5 or less injected CO2. The rest all were no CO2 injection at all with tons and tons of live plants, and I thought myself they look good. I like that jungle look, so...
I want to get this question answered. How many types of small corridors are there? Which ones would be the best for nano tanks? Because I saw those Venezuelan dwarf ones.
Yeah.
We saw it at Lee's Pet Supply. They were like really, really tiny, and they were like super nice looking.
Yeah, I don't know that those ones stay that small. Like they're calling them a dwarf.
Cute,
they're like 2.5, 3 inches. But the ones that you can get your hands on are the Pygmaeus, the Habrosis, and the Hastatus. Those are the 3, and I would say that's the order. Pygmaeus is easiest, Habrosis is next easiest, Hastatus can be rare because they're all wild caught, and there's like 2 more that have like CW numbers, so corridors that haven't been fully described and stuff like that yet usually get a number like CW008 or CW059. So there's a couple more nano species. I think one of them is Corydorus nanus, but they're so hard to get a hold of that you're rarely ever seen, and those do really well. Some of the other ones that can kind of squeeze in to that small tank might be Corydora panda, the panda Corydora. There's probably a couple more, like elegans stay relatively small, and there's probably a couple more too, but they're not as common. I would maybe try also Similis, Corydorus similis, also known as the violet cory. They stay relatively small in my experience. But I wouldn't shoehorn those ones that are on the line into like a 5-gallon or 3-gallon. That's more like, okay, let's put them in the 10-gallon type of deal. So, all right. Any Nano Predators? Yes, there are. So usually they're called Micro Predators. And so the one that I can think of off the top of my head is the Toothpick Fish, which is, what is it like? It's got a crazy scientific name I can never remember, but it only gets about this big. Looks like a toothpick, that's why they call it. And it's got a tiny, tiny, tiny mouth like a pencil fish. And they want to go around and eat tiny little crustaceans because they're micro, right? Which also makes them incredibly hard to feed sometimes. So there is that. There's also things like I would consider a scarlet batis to be a predator, a micro predator, which, those ones are kind of familiar, or at least you could look that up and you can see a lot of people keep those. In a 10-gallon tank, you could probably pull off something like the pipefish. They're a micro predator feeding on baby brine shrimp and Daphnia and those types of things, but those are pretty specialized in the fact that if you don't have live foods, you're really, really going to struggle to have any luck with them. So,
someone wants to know, how do you vacuum a small nano tank?
So it can be difficult. Let's put that out there. It's going to be hard. To make it a little bit easier, go with the skinniest tube you can find. And a lot of times that'll be one about this round, and it'll have a smaller diameter tubing, and you'll kind of have to suck on the hose to get it started. You can also make your own. So if you take like a pipette, like you would draw up 3 milliliters of liquid and then squirt it into another container, that pipette, you make a cut on the bulb, so the part you would squeeze. Now you've got a tiny little cylinder that's connected to a pipette, and on the other end of the pipette, you push on airline tubing. So now you have a really small gravel vacuum you've made. You still have to start it with your mouth, but that can really get into the crevices of rocks and things like that in a nanoscape much better than one that's like that big around, because you might be working in a 2-gallon tank or so. Let's see. The name of that nano library, again, the most common one you're going to be able to find is Heterandria formosa, also known as the least killifish, which it's not a killifish, also known as the dwarf livebearer. Some of the other ones that I had mentioned that aren't as common would be the tiger teddies. There is the widow livebearer. There is the 4-spot livebearer. There is probably a couple more, like the Picta guppy, which is a different type of guppy, but the Picta guppy stays smaller. There's also Xiphosphoris pygmaeus, which is the dwarf swordtail, gets about that big or so. And then there is the pygmy platy as well. So those are all some of those nano livebearers. All right. What's the most prolific nanofish? I would say probably
Endlers?
Yeah, endlers, and then maybe if you widen it up past like fish, I would say cherry shrimp. Both those very prolific in a small nano tank. So, hard water nano species are going to be a lot of those livebearers we just mentioned. The other one I can think of is a nano tank. You have to build a tank around it, but shell dwellers, shell-dwelling cichlids. So like Neolamprologus multifasciatus, which is a shell dweller. There's also brevis, there's ocellatus. So Neolamprologus ocellatus, Neolamprologus brevis. All of those ones, like with the brevis and the ocellatus, you would do like a pair in 5 gallons, hopefully 10 gallons. And the multis, or similis, which is another type, you would do in a group of like 6 or so, and they're a colony breeder. So, all right. Where are we at? We're about 30 minutes in. All right. And what kind of questions have we got? You spotted anything good so far? Use hard tubing in airline? Yeah, you can use the rigid tubing as well. The rigid tubing just costs more than that little pipette, and a lot of times I have a pipette laying around. So for me, it's use what you got. I usually have airline tubing, and I usually have a pipette.
Jenna Tucker asked, can I use root tabs with cherry shrimp?
Yeah, yep. At least mine you can, and sea chems you can. Those are the only two I really use on any regular basis, and I've never had a problem. So I would say yes. But there could be this will get back into the 1 year ago where Corey's a moron type of deal. But I'm not a big fan of Osmocote root tabs underneath the substrate. In my experience and other people that have come forward at this point, ammonia spikes are common enough that I try and avoid it. So.
All right, so let's just say you had to redo that 800 gallon with nanos.
Okay.
What would you put in there?
So if I'm going to redo it with nanos, at that point, it's going to take so many fish that cost does become a factor. Because let's say like 1,000 of a nanofish will look like nothing in there. And even if they're $1 a piece, that's $1,000, right? So it gets a little complicated. So I feel like if I was going to do a nano aquarium out of 800 gallons, which I do kind of want to do that with some of the 125s we're setting up, I would probably do a live bearer. So I'd pick a library I like so that they can populate. So there can be a lot of fish, right? But then I would add color in there in the form of, let's say, 250 Brigitae rasboras. So I'd get a big school of nanofish going on. I might even start the entire thing with a school of like 100 Pygmy Corridoras or something like that and let them sit there for 6 months, 8 months. It would look really dull. But if they started breeding, then maybe I'd have a group of 2,000 or 3,000 Corridoras. Because I don't think money would get me there. My wallet would give out before I'd achieve the look I wanted. Kind of like when you saw with the tiger barbs. Once we finally got that extra, we said we added 100, but it was more like 150 really. Once we added that extra 150 in there, you really saw their behavior change, and that's what I'm looking to do with my aquariums. Is I want to create the behavior that I don't get to see all the time, and a lot of times that's big numbers, and so. I would do probably livebearer. I would probably do some shrimp. I like things that populate. I like massive numbers. That's my thing. So endlers would be cool too. I definitely want to do some endlers in one of the tanks that I'm going to do. But yeah, I would say that would be my plan. And I am going to do it on smaller scale because I do think it looks really cool. It's just, a lot of people already think I'm wasting my 800-gallon doing what I've done right here. They're like, oh, you're just keeping tiger barbs. It's so dumb. But my counterpoint to that is everything that they're suggesting I do instead, I've already done a ton. Like, you should put big, aggressive fish and do this and that. I've already done all that stuff before. And then I try to create things I haven't seen before. So I haven't seen a giant school of tiger barbs really schooling around and having fun. So I wanted that. And I can always change it. I can always add more fish, do what I want. But, this is one of the tanks that I'm purely doing because I want to do it. A lot of other tanks we end up doing because we want to show you guys how to do something. This one, I'm not expecting anyone to go out and be like, yeah, I'm going to buy 250 tiger barbs, and I'm going to buy a lot of clown loaches, and I'm going to do all these things. This is purely so that you guys can enjoy and I can play with them. Like this is just really fun, right? Like that. I've wanted that. I've had it at the store with, silver tip tetras and stuff like that. But this move myself is just very fun, and it's easy for me to de-stress. And feeding them's really fun, and I get a lot of enjoyment out of it. And that's what everyone should be striving for in their aquarium, whether it's a big 800-gallon or it's a nano. Like if you're not like interacting with your tank on a daily basis, and when I say interacting, I mean like you want to see like, ooh, what's going on behind that rock? Not just I put food in, I changed water on a Sunday, I'm done. But if you're not spending time going, ooh, is that new? Oh, we're getting algae there. If you're not doing that kind of investigative stuff into your tank, for me personally, that's a sign that I'm really getting bored with that tank and I should switch up what I'm doing. And so that's why we're tearing down a lot of the smaller tanks out there because they are basically a holding vessel. Originally, the fish room was built so that I could import fish and I could sell them at the store. Well, 2 years later, after buying this building and house, we don't do that as much. Like we import fish, but the goal in there now is to film and enjoy. And so now that is a different thing, different size tanks are what I would do to do that. So that's why we're changing in there, and people are asking for fish room videos and stuff. This is all torn apart. We built the warehouse, which that video hasn't come out yet, but a warehouse with lots of tanks went in as well. So we're basically moving like that to a warehouse, rebuilding this and doing all those types of things. And when it's show ready, we're rebuilding like the 125s and stuff, we'll definitely be making videos on how we aquascape and do all those types of fun things. What do you got for me next, Jimmy?
Someone asked, what's your favorite schooling nanofish?
Favorite schooling nanofish? I think it's gotta be the Brigitae rasbora. I'm trying to think if there's anything that schools. Well, no, that's not true. My favorite cost-not object is Corridorus hestatus. They'll school midwater. They look super cool. I'd take 1,000 of them in a heartbeat. But when price is factored in, then it becomes Brigitae rasboras. So, let's see here. Is there any way to treat bleaching powder mixed tap water? I don't know exactly what bleaching powder is, but I would guess you'd be using a dechlorinator because that would just be dechlorinating bleach. So, who's the guy chilling in the corner? That's Jimmy. He's running all of the equipment and stuff like that. He is the co-anchor and serves me up questions and makes sure things run smoothly. That's the important part.
Yep. I'm Scuba Jim. I have
Scuba Jim.
superpowers.
So favorite nano plants? That's a good question. I really like Anubias nana petite. Stays small, grows slow. I like slow-growing plants because if you have a stem plant and your tank's only this tall and it can grow that tall every week, that's a problem for me. So I like Anubiases in general. I like Cryptocorns a lot. They're slow-growing. And I would say those are the main two that I would plan a tank with. If given unlimited options, that's what I would choose. So...
You think we could make that 240 into 280?
280?
Maybe. We still don't know what we want to do with the 280. It's still
not even
in
out
the
of
van.
it's not even out of the back of the van yet. It's heavy, and Jimmy pulled his shoulder when we moved it. It was more than two people should be moving, but we had to.
But I think we should take it out pretty soon and start polishing it up, getting it ready.
Oh yeah, I bought the supplies to do it. It's just raining right now, so I was gonna do it. I would have done it today after this, except it's raining.
Yeah, so if you guys have any suggestions on what we should put in the 280, go ahead and start flooding the chat with it, because we need as many ideas as we can get.
Jeremiah Pearson with the $5 super chat. Just got a flower horn. What pH and diet, etc. for recommendations? So, my first thing is use your tap water. As long as it's above 7.0 pH, you're going to be fine. And you'll be able to do a lot of water changes. That'll be good and easy. And then when it comes to food, people get really crazy about flower horn food. There's a lot of foods dedicated to flower horns, color enhancing, that type of thing. Me personally, I come from the school of thought of well-varied diet brings out lots of good colors. So I would be focusing on a lot. I would get like a pellet food that I like to feed that matches my budget, the fish likes to eat, and doesn't cloud my water too much. So I would get a good staple pellet. Then I would supplement it with maybe like spirulina brine shrimp, maybe some frozen bloodworms, maybe some Canadian mysis, which Canadian mysis shrimp has a lot more HUFAs and amino acids in it. So it's real fatty. It's really going to put like a film of fat or oil slick on the top of your water, but it can really bulk up the flower horns, for lack of a better term, nuchal hump cock. So it can really grow that if that's what you're looking to do. And between like those foods and maybe a sprinkling in of a couple others I try here and there, that's the roundabout diet I would go. And then I would play with him every day, once a day at least, with a mirror or a laser pointer to keep him active. And the more aggressive he is, the bigger the nuchal hump's going to get, and just a lot of personality out of that fish. So that's how I would keep a flower horn if I was doing one today, let's say. Will Ghost Shrimp work in a 10-gallon nano tank? Technically, yes, but most Ghost Shrimp you're going to buy are going to be not farmed, but caught out of the wild, which is usually from an estuary, brackish water. And then the mortality rate is very high to the ones that can actually make it to freshwater full-time, year-round type of deal. So
everyone's asking me what's in the tank behind me. So that is a 26-gallon.
It's about 25 gallons, yeah.
About 25 gallons. There's nothing in it but snails, moss, and some val.
Yeah, he's got to decide what he wants to put in it so far.
Yeah.
Yeah. When does the puffer talk come out? I'm not sure. I've got to give the puffer talk again next month, and I think the month after. So I'm kind of holding it back so that I don't ruin it for those people. But the puffer audio is on the podcast. That came out Thursday, I think, maybe Friday. So you could listen to the audio, but I don't want to just instantly ruin my presentation that I'm giving again in about a month and then another month. So, but it will come out after that. I mean, we have it filmed. We filmed it twice actually.
Yeah,
so
but we will have the
come
best
out.
puffer video out of the 4. So
yeah, we want to make sure we film the best one too. So. Plecos or discus in the 280? Unlikely I would do discus. I'm just not that big of a fan when it comes to discus to dedicate a whole 280-gallon tank for it. Brackish 280. Okay, you've piqued my interest. That would be very fun. That would be very fun because I would get to learn a ton. You guys would get to learn a ton. I've also considered just going insane and going saltwater. It's because it would be fun. Because I could care less about the animals in the saltwater tank. I really want to build, like, the sump with mangroves, an algae scrubber, play with a really big protein skimmer. Like, that stuff, I'm jonesing to get really technical on a tank. I haven't done that in a long time. But the actual stuff that's going to live in there, and the whole, like, scraping coralline algae thing, and that whole saltwater mixing to change water thing, sounds pretty bad. So I have thought about, like, 280-gallon saltwater tank, 0 water change. So that means that the whole premise, like, if I had this piece of paper, the first thing says never do a water change or limit water changes to once a year. And then everything I do from that point on has to help augment that. So if I have a super sensitive coral that I think I'm going to have to ridiculously feed reef snow and stuff like that, and I might foul my water, that doesn't help target number 1. So I can't do that. But maybe a Kenya tree, it's bulletproof. We could do some Kenya trees in there. And maybe I would do lots of macroalgae and really play with that. So that intrigues me a whole bunch. Not so much, well, why don't you build a ridiculous system with lots of Maximus clams and all these stony corals and do all that thing? And the reason would be, like, I have 0 interest in a high maintenance saltwater tank. And I've thought about possibly collaborating with someone like Corvus Ocean, Joel. He lives here in Washington with us, and he's got his own YouTube channel, and he's been doing some saltwater stuff that is similar to that vein that I want to do. He's not quite no water change, but he's playing with stuff that I guess I don't see a lot of other people play with, and that is, I've really fallen in love with the conches. Like, those things look like aliens, and he's right. He's like, this is an alien-looking creature, and that thing does. I don't know anything about them, really, because I haven't done any research, but stuff like that.
They're delicious.
They're delicious? Okay, I'll take your word for that. But I could be tempted into play with something like that is a learning experience for me, so something I've already done, and then, a very long-term project where it'd be like, oh, you want to see the algae farm? Look at that. I'm tweaking another thing. We'll see if we can get that algae scrubber doing what it needs to do, that type of thing. So
we're getting a lot of votes for brackish.
Brackish, I really want to do anableps.
Sounds like a lot of fun, but I haven't even...
I want to do anableps a lot. Monos would be really fun. Mud skippers. The problem is it's a taller tank, right? It's 32 inches tall. And you could totally do mud skippers, but that whole top always looks cruddy to me, especially when with brackish water salt splash up there. It's going to look all crusty all the time. And so whenever the mud skippers go up above, I'm afraid you'll never get to see them. But yes, mud skippers, monos, scats would be fun. Some of the archer fish could be really fun in that same mud skipper setup. Like, I'm not sure yet. What I'm afraid of with brackish is that there's so few brackish water resources that I could put a lot of time, energy into it, and it always looks terrible because I can't get any of the plants to grow, and then there's the whole, what type of brackish? Are we on the really freshwater side? Are we on the really saltwater side? Are we right in the middle? Am I going to do puffer fish? But yes, those are intriguing, at least, for sure. So, have I ever kept seahorses? I have never kept seahorses, no. And that, to be fair, I guess we didn't talk about any nano saltwater tanks. I am intrigued by dwarf seahorses and maybe pico reefs and stuff, but evaporation and things like that, I don't know. I'm not so much into the corals. I mean, they are fun, but not as much as coral people are. Coral people, like, they live for corals, and they're cool, and I would keep some. I would probably do, like, in a saltwater tank, there'd be things like Kenya trees, and then there'd be things like mushroom polyps, like really easy stuff, because it still looks cool. To me, I guess that's a big pet peeve in the hobby for me. A lot of people in this hobby, they attribute how cool something looks to how rare or expensive it is. So for me, like, a ton of tiger barbs is super duper cool looking to me. But it's a beginner fish. It's cheap. It's all that. That's even better to me. That's not a downfall. That's a perk. Same thing. I think Kenya trees look really cool, even though they're pretty bland. And mushroom corals look super cool. They don't have to be like, oh, I spent $700 for this coral. Look how cool it is. It looks cool, but to me, it probably doesn't look $700 cool. It looks like, yeah, it's just as cool as this other thing. And the longer you're into something, you want to see things you haven't seen before. So I think that's one of the most big differences. So
We got a $5 super chat from the River Life. Corey and Jamie rocking the house for today. Thank you. Any nano stock offer interesting, colorful top tub view?
Ooh, nano stock for a top view. I'm really digging my rice fish. So the orange rice fish in particular,
that's an
really
excellent
cool up the top. They hang out up top. I haven't kept them, but I would look into it. The clown killie and the Norman Lampite killie. You're going to catch that eye, I think, looking down at it would look super cool.
And I was going to ask you, can you see those from above?
I think you could. I haven't tried it, though. But I would look into that, especially if you got sunlight coming in on there. What else do I know would look super cool? I really like guppies in a pond because all the guppy babies stay up top. That's really fun. Whereas something like Celestial Pearl Danios and stuff, they're going to live down in the mid-water column down low, and you almost never, ever, ever see them. So they don't make that good of a fish in a tub, a nano tub, if you will. But those are the ones I would try.
Could you explain the water parameters for clown killies?
Water parameters, I would say 6.8 pH to 7.8 or so. They don't have to be heated. They can go pretty cool. I would say if you were to ask them, in a survey what their favorite temperature is, it's about 72 or so. And I've colony bred them with floating plants. If it's only clown killies, they'll go lay eggs in there. They hatch out. They raise up. But the juvenile or the teenage clown killies will eat babies. The adults, when they're breeding, they know, like, hey, don't eat our own kids. But the teenagers, they just see them as food, and they're growing, and they're hungry, and they'll go eat that. Moderate hardness, and I would say lots of foods that are fine and will swirl around that water. So, gold white clouds look good from the top. I agree. I have those out as well. So
Everybody wants to see you do the hand thing again. Can you do it one more time?
the hand.
please?
Oh, the tiger barb
Yeah.
thing. Sure. I command these.
Jedi mind tricks.
Yeah, and you can get them to move.
That's so crazy looking. Love it.
And the clowns mix in with them.
Yeah,
That's
they
the
never
fun
used to
part.
do that before. Now that we
now
have
they're on
the
the run,
tigers in
apparently.
there. Oh, I probably think they're getting fed.
Now we got them all riled up, So, Kyle's Wild World says, don't forget to hit that like button. I agree.
We got 8 minutes, people, so come out with the questions.
Yes, 8 more minutes. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this for like 8 more minutes, and then we're going to take about a 10-minute break. And then we're going to go live on Facebook, because we haven't been live on Facebook in a few weeks, and I feel bad for those who like to hang out on Facebook and aren't getting us. And plus, it is really good for us when you guys go onto Facebook and you watch, and then you share it out. We gain a lot of new people to the Aquarium Co-op team. They come in and they go, I didn't know who you were. And we go, yes, we talk about nerdfish. And they go, ooh, I do too. And that helps everyone, and it grows the whole family a little bit more. And we get that much closer to total and utter world domination. So, 280-gallon glowfish tank. I would almost do that. So, the reason I would do that, not because I would love it so much. It would be cool. I do think it would be cool. But the internet would rage so hard that it would be like a promotional stunt. Like, I just need to put 1 million glowfish into the tank and then break like a few other rules, like put a betta in there and then like an oxalotl, and literally the world would start exploding on the internet. Meanwhile, all the animals would do just fine and all that, but the collective internet would be so angry that it would be a promotional stunt. And that's why I wouldn't do it. I'm not here to make people angry. I am here to hopefully make people happy. So,
All right, we got a $5 super chat from Mimi Heart 9. I get you. Mollies are my first love. Friendly, all the colors, and can be super cheap. Pretty doesn't mean expensive and rare.
I completely agree, Mimi. Mollies were what started my entire hobby. So, I actually, like, they weren't my first fish. They were within my first 10 fish I bought, probably. Like, 10 groups of fish. Penguin tetras were my first ever. But it was the black mollies I had that made me go head over heels into this hobby, because one day I woke up, the aquarium was in our bedroom, me and my wife, and there was baby fish. And to me at that point, that was mind-blowing because I was so new into the hobby. I didn't think about, like, wait, fish can make more fish in my own aquarium? At that point, you only went to stores to buy fish. You know, I didn't know if they were wild caught or not or whatever, but the fact that I made fish, oh man, blew my hobby wide open. And really, that's what got me addicted to this whole thing was breeding fish. And to this day, I still love breeding fish. And so yes, I tend to, you know, I'm trying to think what a hipster would say. Like, I knew that was cool before it was cool. And same thing, I like to like things that are not cool right now. And mostly just because things that are really popular or are beginner fish or whatever, they got there because they were such a great fish. And things that are really not popular usually aren't that great of a fish for the average person. So, you know, if something's really common, it's usually a good sign. For the most part, I'd say 80% of things that are really common, they're common because they're such a good fish to keep. So,
Lars K with a $2 super chat. Thank you, Lars K.
Thank you. $2 closer to super camera.
And someone was saying when I have it in this view right here,
yeah,
the chat covers up your side of the on the iPhone or the phone.
Say what?
Because it starts rolling on the chat.
Yeah.
It's always to the left side on an iPhone if you watch it on landscape mode.
Okay.
So I'm gonna
and when you switch
it.
Huh. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So that covers me instead of you.
All right.
Because you are the main.
We learn as we go. Have I ever visited 6th Avenue Aquarium in San Francisco? I have not yet. I've never been there yet. Undergravel filters, you could definitely do those in a Nano for sure. Maybe even in the saltwater tank. That really, so in both applications, angering the internet using an undergravel filter in that 280 would anger them with the glowfish. But then also if I use that in a saltwater tank, I'll really set off the saltwater nerds. Even though people did it for about 20 years straight and it worked just fine. But you know how that goes. Yeah.
Amazon Research Center with a $2 super chat.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
Giving back to us, which we try to give back to you. If you guys haven't already, check out the Amazon Research Center. They're building it right now. What are they going to do? They're going to study species of fish out of the wild, you know, figure out how they breed them, do all those kind of things. Research students go there. There's going to be like a place for people to stay while they're researching and doing all that kind of cool stuff. And we hope to visit there. I don't know how soon it'll be, just because I think I'm already going on a different Amazon trip next August. But maybe, like, this is the thing. Like, when you don't know places, I have no idea if, like, the Amazon Research Center is here and then 2 miles down the road is, like, where we'll be. Or if it's like, oh, we're going to Peru, don't worry, and we'll stop by, and it's like, okay, guy, yeah, but we're literally 17 hours away. You know, like, I have no idea. So if it's, like, convenient, we should totally stop, film, hang out, and then do the other thing also and just book, like, a couple extra days. If it's not convenient, we should book an entirely different trip. That could be fun as well. So, yeah.
Flynn's really confused here. Now, is 12 o'clock our time now for live streams?
For now, yeah. Noon is our time, yes.
He was on vacation, so I think he's out of the loop.
Yeah. Just because competing with Game of Thrones and football, which football happens all day long, but I think noon's just better. And honestly, we might not even do Sundays anymore. Like, now that I don't have to go to the store and I can focus on our online business and YouTube and stuff like that all the time, we could totally adopt a Friday afternoon or something like that. Like, I don't know yet. Things are a-changing. I'll tell you that right now. Things are going to change. In fact, we've thought about putting the live stream only on the Jimmy of Aquarium Co-op channel, because live streams, as much as we love them and they are super fun, are terrible for your YouTube channel. They actually absolutely tank the stats, because go look at any of our live streams and you go, yeah, you got about 11,000 views. And that sounds really good until you realize, like, all the other videos released this week are somewhere between 20 and 50,000 views. And the watch time and the retention rate is terrible and things like that. So if our goal is to reach more people and help as many people as we can status, the better we can do on YouTube, the better that goal is. And then if we funnel everyone over to the Jimmy of Aquarium Co-op channel and we nerd out and talk on the live stream for hours, we actually then are helping them, and it's not penalizing us from reaching more new people. Because it's pretty difficult to research or to reach new people. That, that Corey who's been in the hobby for 2 months and doesn't know that fish can have babies and things like that, that's who we want to connect with so we can start helping them from the beginning. Whereas usually you got to be a seasoned aquarist before you think like, I should start watching fish videos all day long, every day on the YouTubes. And so the more we can have outreach, the better it is for everything. The channel, monetarily, helping people, all that kind of stuff. But we're not making any crazy decisions just yet. We're testing things. We look at stuff. We try every week. We're trying new things. Whether you guys notice it or not, we're seeing how, we make a change on how we edit a video. Okay, how did those 50,000 people react to that part of the video? We can see those types of analytics, and we slowly move and massage things until we think, 1, that was a great workflow for us. 2, we think you guys enjoyed it. 3, we think it actually helps someone. And then 4, is it sustainable? Can we do that on the regular? And if all those things match up, it becomes a good thing. So that's what we're trying to do.
And that is the show. Let's wrap this thing up. And,
all right, we've hit our 1 hour mark.
Coming out.
We'll be back next Sunday. For now, we haven't changed that. So we'll be back next Sunday at about noon. In about 10 minutes or so, we will be going live on Facebook. That's Facebook/Aquarium Co-op. We will be there. And, somewhere. We will be there, and we're going to do a kind of a Q&A. And usually there's less than 700 people. There's only like 200, 250. So more of your questions can get answered. A little more intimate setting. We can actually see... we also can see the follow-up when you say, I don't know about this, and then you answer it. We can follow up with that and a little more in-depth stuff. So thanks for hanging out today, guys. It's always a blast. We have a ton of fun. Make sure you check out the CO2 video we put out and Jimmy's channel in general, because we put out 3 or 4 videos this week alone on that channel. And if you can't get enough of 2 goofy guys in a studio, we'll be back next Sunday. So thank you, and thank you for all the super chats. We're that much closer to that camera. We'll see you next time.
Don't forget to like.